Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on planet Earth, from the Gulf of America to the Gulf of Arabia to Greenland, soon to be known as the Northeast Virginia. Greetings to you, people of Earth, but America first. America first. What does that mean? It means exactly what it says it means. All of the world is watching America, and all of America is watching TV. God forbid The View or PMS DNC or Colbert or any of these other devils who are trying to destroy the country. Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, freedom of slander, freedom of anarchy, freedom of division, freedom of hate, freedom of a discourse regime that doesn't allow you to even get at the truth. Anyway, this program's dedicated to Charlie Kirk, hero, patron saint, prophet, martyr, patron saint of America. Our first kind of Christian martyr since, well, at least John Brown, but maybe, probably since Stephen from a spiritual standpoint, in terms of his faith. Prophets, not people. P-R-O-P-H-E-T-S. Prophets. We're needed way more than people. Prophets are needed way more than people. To be popular is easy. To be right when it's not popular is noble. This is CSN, the Common Sense Network. This is Jeremiah Gunn Show. I am Professor Jeremiah Gunn, the undocumented expert. I talked about the ABCs. And we learned on another show that those three letters are enough. There's enough words affiliated and starting with those three letters to talk us through the rest of our lives. Existential elements that surround, that are started off by those three letters. That's it. That's all it takes. C today. We're going to talk about C, the C word, the Constitution, and its battle with communism and contemporary destruction. The cancer, C is for cancer, and the chemotherapy that's needed via truth to fix the country, which is the Constitution. Anyway, first of all, the long sobs of violins of autumn wound my heart with a monotonous languor. The long sobs of violins of autumn wound my heart with a monotonous languor. Hey, I want to give you an important safety tip. I don't talk very fast, and some people do. I'm no auctioneer. I'm no Chick Hearn. I'm no Ben Shapiro. I know more than Ben Shapiro knows about certain things, and that's true of any podcast that you're going to want to point to. This is not bragging. This is just facts. I'm a fact checker. And the first fact I got to check is that one. So prove me wrong. That's what the great Charlie Kirk said. Simple request. Prove me wrong. Don't tell me that, oh, I don't know. I don't know that, that's your truth. I have my truth. How dare you disrespect my truth? There isn't your truth and my truth. There's only truth. There's only truth. And so you can throw it away or you can talk about it and deal with it. I'm your truth teller. That's what they called me in the corporate career world. They said that all of a sudden that we need a truth teller. About the same time that fact checkers were coming online and lying and calling themselves truth tellers or fact checkers. Yeah. Fact checkers that believe that men can get pregnant, or that if you pay money, you can stop the world from ending through climate. That kind of stuff. Hello, my name is Jeremiah Gunn. You killed my country. Prepare to die, DEI. Anyway, this is Professor Jeremiah Gunn, your undocumented expert, and that's really the best kind. That's really the best kind because they don't have to regurgitate, cooperate, and graduate at a seminary of leftist thought. Universities of destruction is what one of them called. I went to college, but I started and stopped. So I went back when I was a lot older. It was 15 years between high school graduation and college graduation. And I was in the workforce, working my way from digging ditches to corporate suite, consultation. And so, you know, when I went back, I wasn't some 17, 18-year-old kid filled with the spoiled brat syndrome and hubris. Hubris is a great word. I was reading a great book and came across it. Hubris means an exaggerated self-confidence that results in harm to other people. Isn't that a great word? That little tiny two-syllable word. Exaggerated, unwarranted self-confidence that results in harm. And it said C. Clinton, C.O. blah blah, C. Newscomb, C. Tampon Tim. Okay? So, anyway, let's do this. The long sobs of violins of autumn wound my heart with a monotonous languor. The long sobs of violins of autumn wound my heart with a monotonous languor. Now, you men know what to do. You men know what to do. And I'm talking to you men because I identify as a man, and the greatest of all ever said there are two races. I'm not talking about Viktor Frankl, who said there's only two races, decent and indecent. There's only two races, decent and indecent, meaning that you belong. Some people say there's only one race, the human race, but that doesn't give enough detail. It really is bifurcated. There's only two races, decent and indecent. This was from a man who was a psychology professor, who researcher, and wound up in Auschwitz or some other death camp in Germany's Hitler. Yeah, you heard that right. It wasn't Hitler's Germany. It was Germany's Hitler. He was elected, but in a fake election, a fraudulent election. But we'll talk about that later. But he couldn't have done what he did all by himself. The German people put him in, and they had to live with it. They had to live with the consequences of that. Just like the people of Iran let the French, the communists of the Soviet Union, and the Jimmy Carter communists sell their country down the river. It's on them. No offense, but it was college students fighting for communism against the Shah that took that country down. And that's a whole nother subject. But I'm talking to you men because men have to save this country. They're the ones who created it. They're the ones who saved it, pulled it out of the fire in the Civil War that's still going on. And you're on. Knock, knock. Wake up call. Get out of bed. Clean your room. No offense, but you can play the video games that are faking bravery and virtue after you're done using real bravery and virtue to save the world. That's it. It's time. It's past time. You have to save the world because it's not going to happen. The hand that rocks the cradle is destroying the world, unfortunately. No pleasure in saying that, but that's the reality. So, let's start with our greetings to the people of Earth, from the Gulf of America to Greenland, to the Gulf of Arabia, and Greenland, soon to be called Northeast Virginia. We can talk about all that NATO nonsense when that topic comes up. But anyway, I want to find out what you are worried about, what you're thinking about. I want to find out what is on your heart. I don't want to use polls. I don't want to use anything except you. This is a conversation with you. I'm not going to have the great guests that Joe Rogan has, or anybody like that. But I've heard them all, seen them all, so I can tell you. I'd sort of like to tell you what that all means. I don't want to do mansplaining, but I want to do cansplaining. I can explain all of this stuff, and hopefully in a way that whether you want it at the Mars Hill level or the man on the street level, hopefully not the Jay Leno jaywalking level. But that I want to be able to explain to you what this kind of all means and what happened in truth, in absolute truth. I greet you in the name of truth and love and peace and justice. No truth, no love, no peace, no justice, no nothing. Everything comes from the truth. You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And whoever gets set free by the truth, by the one who said, I am the truth, is free indeed. Free indeed. So all who sin are slaves. Sin means miss the mark. Today it means communist, Nazi, Islamist. Oh, that's backwards. Communist, Islamist, Nazi. Sorry, sinners. Repent, sinners. Come out among those cults. And we're on to you. Some of us, a lot of us, hopefully enough of us are on to you and what you're doing and what Ayn Rand and Bill Buckley and Richard M. Weaver were all trying to tell us and warn us about 50 years ago. About the same time that, no, that's more, it's 70 years ago. 75 years ago. We were warned about all of this. All right? So let's just talk about what needs to happen in order to save yourself and us. Us stands for, whenever I use the word us, it stands for United States. It's an old ancient concept that these states here would become, they went from colonies to states, and then they became the United States. So when you talk about our country, talk about America, America is pretty broad. It goes from Canada and Greenland all the way to the tip of Tierra del Fuego and Puerto Williams. So that's America. That's why he called it the Gulf of America. Hello. North America, Canada and us and Mexico. Central America, all those countries. El Salvador, God bless you. And then Argentina, South America, all that stuff. So you want to know the true history of planet Earth from every angle. Here we are. This is the place. This is the place. You can ask me anything. I can either tell you where to find the answer, or I can just give you the answer flat out. Now, I don't want you to trust me. I don't want you to sit at my feet and, call me father. But if you're children, and there's a lot of adult children out there now trying to raise children, it's a problem. It's a problem. It's time to man up. It's time to man up. Let's do this, and then we'll do that. Okay. Here is a great man. True Genius is the name of the album that comes from. He's going to do our international national anthem. All rise, please. Thank you, Prophet. Thank you, Ray, you genius. I could listen to that all day. I love it. I love it. It's what they call brilliantly conceived and flawlessly executed. Absolutely brilliant. So let me give you an important safety tip real quick. My voice isn't fast. So if you want to speed it up, I don't want to take 1 minute more of your busy time, your valuable time. I don't want to take 1 minute than you're comfortable with. So just go ahead and speed it up. I do that when I listen to books on recorded books. I listen to almost said books on tape or CD. I was born in the mid-1900s, so I'll sometimes have a throwback reference that you might have to have explained. And when I listen to recorded books, and I listen to a lot, I love it. Thomas Jefferson, if you ever go to Monticello, and you should, it's written on his wall, some of his quotations. One of them is, "I cannot live without books." I love it. Anyway, I listen to it at like 1.8. And all you got to do is go on your settings, hopefully, and just speed this up. And if not, if you find the voice okay and not sleep-inducing but soothing and not monotonous but mellifluous. You know, my nickname was Lurch when I played basketball, and at the blood bank where I donate blood for decades, it was, they asked me for a nickname and I said Lurch, so you rang. So if it bothers you, go ahead and speed it up. Please be my guest. This is brought to you a message of safety and security for your convenience and listening pleasure. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So I want to quickly greet the people of Earth. Okay, so this is we are one race, the human race, in that regard. And as we're seeing play out right now around the globe, there's only two races divided from that family. Whether you're secular or religious, you know that we all came from one mom and dad. That's why scientists call it the Eve gene, and only African American women have it. Yep, they called her that. They gave that name. Science. When look it up. I keep saying look it up, but be careful. AI is not. It's artificial. It's not intelligent. That thing is so biased and so slanted. And yet somebody will tell me, a family member or somebody who's kind of uninitiated, but they'll hold forth on it and they'll say, hey, that it's because of your algorithm. That's what's doing it. But I don't know anything about my algorithm that would make it give me everything that's completely false first. And I have to go to page 5 to find anything resembling the truth. So that's a problem. God bless Elon Musk, our modern Ben Franklin, for figuring that out, for trying to restore the Bill of Rights. So again, this is Professor Jeremiah Gunn, your truth teller. I'm your humble servant, your undocumented expert in literally everything. I'm your search engine, your fact checker. I'm inviting you to question authority. Ask me anything. So, greetings to the people of Earth. Huyamora, Afwan, Marsalama, Tien Yo Mai Guo, Kaiselens New Claire, Hello Face, Khoda Amerika Ra Barakat Dehad, Khoda Amerika Ra Barakat Dehadad. I know what's that other thing they're saying right now. Javid Shah, Javid Shah, Javid Shah. Satri Akal, Tum Kai Seyo. Emet Matovut Manayem, Shevet Hachim Gamyade. Motobono, Bon Natal, Kamsahamnida. Kamsahamnida. Okay, as George C. Scott, as General George Patton said, by God, that's enough. But come, let us reason together. Let's talk. You know, we kind of left off on the Constitution. Very good place to start. And don't think about this country. This is not just a country. We had a Marxist in the White House, unfortunately, recently, and he did not love this country. Neither one of the last couple have loved this country. Neither one of them, well, one of these days we'll talk about all the presidents. We'll go through them. And the best and the worst are not anywhere close. I guarantee you it's nothing close to what you've probably heard or been told. So it's time to question authority on all those areas. So it's, excuse me. We left off on the Constitution. And when I say that this is not a country without the Constitution, when you say, well, I'm an American, what does that mean? I mean, you're in a certain, so are the Canadians, so are the Mexicans, so are the Central and South Americans. If you're in Belize, you're an American. You're Central American. So what does it mean? If you take that 5440 parallel and you take the Rio Grande and the Gulf of America and say that's America. No, it's not geography. The thing is with the left, it's always about an inanimate object. It's guns. It's cars. It's condoms. It's a driver's license. That's not reality. Great minds talk about ideas. Average minds talk about events, and small minds talk about people. Let's say that again. Say it again. Repeat the line. Great minds talk about ideas. Average minds talk about events, and small minds talk about people. So we're not gonna do TDS. We're not gonna do ad hominem. If we talk about somebody, it's because of the ideas that they represent, whether they know it or not. A useful idiot is probably more dangerous than a tyrant. Bonhoeffer's theory of stupidity. I mean, the useful idiots make the tyrants possible. So, and it doesn't, we're going to talk about this thing called a discourse regime. Abraham Lincoln was so incredibly brilliant, a founding member he was a founding father of the Republican Party, Republic. And to the Republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible. You think? Don't bet on it. With liberty and justice. No, it's, I've been looking for justice my whole life. And now liberty's going too. I'm not finding it on every corner. So anyway, it's a republic. Lincoln started it, and he was so brilliant. He had basically 1 year of I'm going to say a word, education. But as Mark Twain said, I never let schooling get in the way of my education. The purpose of the education system was to indoctrinate our children into love of America. What are they doing right now? Completely the opposite. Completely the opposite. There's this thing going around about because of immigration, there's thing going around about there's a meme about that the last line of the dedication of the Statue of Liberty has this verbiage. We'll read it sometime, but it says that, if you want to come here, that's great, but it's not, if you're an enemy, if you're an alien, which alien means I don't recognize you. You're not from this. Okay? So, no human being is illegal. Well, tell that to the person that just murdered your family. I'm glad you're not illegal. I mean, so anyway, he was so brilliant. He was like Charlie Kirk. He was autodidact, and most of the founding fathers, self-taught. But wow, what wisdom. And so he talked about this discourse regime that I'm talking about that's going on right now. He said things like, "What how many legs would a dog have?" He was very logical, brilliant mind. How many legs would a dog have if you called the tail a leg? And a lot of people said, well, 5. He said, no, it doesn't become a leg. It doesn't become a leg because you call it one. It's a tail. Okay, so, what are we doing today? We're calling men women and women men, and we're trying to run to the aid of children, and we call it aid, and take them away from their parents and mutilate their body and give them drugs, sterilizing drugs that we don't really know what they do. I think we're finding out that it might do something to the brain region that causes you to act out. I mean, there's a lot of data coming in recently on that. So, this is what the discourse regime does. It says this is what democracy, what we're calling that democracy. We're calling that democracy. In the last election, one side, and by the way, it's not Republican and Democrat. It's Republican or communist, socialist. Do you need any more evidence of that? That New York City, the biggest city in the world, in America, and in everybody's mind in the world. Do you need any more evidence that the young people are saying that communism's not so bad and they vote Democrat? And the Democrats say, we'll take the communists and socialists in here. They've always endorsed them. So anyway, I'm getting off track. Let's talk about Lincoln. But this discourse regime is just, if somebody like Bill Maher, who thinks he's a lot smarter than he is, a lot of hubris. I mean, he's written books on things that he has no way of knowing, made a movie about it, that he has no way of ever knowing. And then he sits with Charlie Kirk and goes, I learned some things and you're wrong. It's better late than never, but how do you put the toothpaste back in the tube, Bill? It wasn't that long ago he was campaigning for Gavin Newsom and calling Trump names of like, so anyway, it's not Republican and Democrat. This gets back to that WTF. You're looking at the problem. You see an image. The PowerPoint image is a window, a table, and a floor, all in this room. And you're trying to talk about what the problem is. And some percent are saying it's the window, stupid. No, it's the table. It's the floor. So one side says that, let's take the right side first. In the last election, he said, if you don't fight like hell, you're going to lose your country. If you don't fight like hell, you're going to lose your country. It sounds like Thomas Paine. It sounds like Madison. It sounds Jefferson, Adams, Washington, Patrick Henry. Okay, the other side says, they're a threat to democracy. They're a threat to democracy. And they just jump past or crawl under this dividing line that they had no intention of making this a democracy. And by the way, it's not a democracy if a little handful of pedagogues demagogues using pedagogue methods on their juvenile infantilized lemmings. That doesn't make it a democracy. So, what makes this country a country is the Constitution. And, people are they're so ignorant today. Ignorant is, I like the word ignorant because it doesn't imply that they're not smart or they're not educated. They might have a PhD. Look at Faucist. Look at Anthony Faucist. It doesn't. Dr. Mengele was a trained physician. That doesn't mean anything. is do you have wisdom? Do you have wisdom? And so, but I like the word ignore, especially what they've done to the word education. So I like the word ignore, meaning they're willfully ignorant. They're willfully ignorant. There is none so blind as he who will not see, she who will not see. I think even Hilary Rotten Klingon one time talked about people who willful disbelief or suspension of belief, willful suspension of belief. She relied on that to get anywhere she ever got. Willful suspension of disbelief. That's right, it is. Don't confuse me with the facts. My mind is made up. And so let's fast forward to JFK. JFK said, the ignorance of one voter in an election is a threat to our whole entire democracy. So the other day, my wife and I are going to sign a petition. And it's funny, you see a sign or they call out, hey, do you want to do this? Sign the petition. Do you want to do this? Sign this petition. It's insane. It's insane. I don't know what your state is like, but in the Democrat Confederate states, the blue states, the blue no matter who states that are really city states because the cities run the whole country. Handful of cities run their whole country. Did you know that? Do you care? Exactly what the founding fathers did not want, especially Thomas Jefferson, the primary author of the Declaration of Independence. They didn't want a handful of cities cheating you out of a democratic process. And what do you think's happening? So, anyway, what we do is we do petitions. We have to ask the government to help us do something that they should have been doing all along. They should have been doing it all along. So we come up with a petition and we get it on the ballot and it gets voted in, and then the state decides they're not going to do it. MLK called that nullification. It was one of the tricks the Democrats used to deny them of all the gains the Republicans made in the Civil War vis-a-vis emancipation and civil rights. So this young man's there doing the petition, and it turns out there's like 14 or 17 of them. We went there to just sign one. Okay. Someone said that if you won't be governed by the 10 commandments, you'll be governed by the 10,000 commandments. The more the laws, the less the liberty. And one of the other guys who animated the understanding of our founders said, useless laws weaken the necessary ones. That's all we do is write things down on paper that are counter to the Constitution and destroying America. And then the politicians decide whether they want to abide by it or not. We could tell you all kinds of anecdotes about that. But so I talked to this guy. It turns out his father, he's not from here, but he grew up here kind of. And, I always love to talk to people. I love people. I love to talk to them. I love to find out where they're from, what happened, how'd they get here, where are they at in their stage of life. I really, really love people, and I really want to find out what they're thinking, including you, wherever you are. I want you to send questions, comments. I'm not going to do a shout out, but if it's really worthwhile, and it might be, it could be, it should be, we'll go over it, and I guarantee you, you will not hear anything like this. You'll get answers that nobody's telling you because everybody's lying to you. So this young man says that his father's in the Marines and grew up around here because he was for a while stationed here and stationed there. And turns out he's of really, really high rank. I think the highest sergeant major. It's one of the top ranks you can get to in the enlisted path. And so interesting. So I said, were you in the Marines? And he said, no, I'm going in though. I'm going in. That's why I'm getting these tattoos removed off, points to his neck. and I could see some work had been done. So think about that, you folks out there who want to get a tattoo today and tomorrow may not wish that you had, may wish that you hadn't. So anyway, he says, so I said, hey, I always like to do this. I worked with a lot of Marines and I love history. So I said, well, when were the Marines founded? And a Marine should be able to tell you that it was November 10th, 1775 in a place called Tunn's Tavern in Philadelphia. And people will say, oh, they're older than America? Kind of. I mean, America started at Lexington and Concord 1775. It was months and months later that the Declaration of Independence was created to say why we were at war, not we think we're going to go. So anyway, so he says, November 9th or 10th. Now, his father's a sergeant major. He probably would have given him a size 10 suppository if he heard him answer wrong like that, but who knows? So anyway, he says, November 9th or something. I said the 10th, and I said, what year? He said, 19. Well, that's okay. Cicero, well, yes and no. History is the soul of a race. Insanity is the loss of memory. And Cicero warned us that those who are unaware of what happened before they were born remain children. Those who are unaware of what happened before they were born remain a child. That's what it means. To do that is to remain a child. So anyway, he says 19, and so okay. So is it really important to know that the United States Marine Corps didn't start in the 20th century? Well, one way of kind of remembering it, committing it to memory, is two of the biggest eye problems we have right now. Two of the biggest eye problems we have right now are immigration and Islam. Sometimes they're the same person, a migrating Muslim. So immigration and Islam, two of our biggest eye problems, the one that caused Iran. Did you know that the IRGC, you might have heard that. Oh, the IRGC, that's a Nazi party that has been stepping on everybody's neck in Iran and Persia for 50 years. Thank you, Jimmy Carter. Good job. So that, our eye problem is that, how does that relate? Well, the Marine Corps has a hymn or a song, and a lot of people can, even if they weren't in the Marines, they can recite or remember it. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. From the halls of Montezuma was from the Mexican-American War. Marines were involved in that. To the shores of Tripoli, that's Benghazi. Remember Hilary Rotten Klingon? Remember the beautiful Secretary of State that just did such a great job talking about, we had nothing to do with that terrible video made in Hollywood. Well, neither did this insurrection either. But what a great man. When you look at Marco Rubio compared to that or Kerry, John Kerry. So anyway, it's kind of significant. The shores of Tripoli, Muslim pirates were taking our people. They were taking all of Europe's people. Take your ship, take your sailors, and sell them into slavery, sell your stuff, or make you pay a huge ransom to get them back. That's how they rolled. Muslims in Africa. Muslims, the ones who started the slave trade, the African-American slave trade. Muslims. And so that's why they went to the shores of Tripoli. That guy that Stephen, there's a city named after him. It'll come to me, but I've read the books about him. That he went down there to get them back because Jefferson said to the Europeans, hey, these Barbary pirates on the shores of Tripoli. They're taking our ships. Yeah, we know. And so France, Italy, Germany, England, Spain, he said, we could kick their ass if we work together. Sound familiar? And they said, no, we'll just keep paying the protection. So they paid the protection so that if the pirates saw a flag of the country that paid the protection to the mafia, then they wouldn't attack them. And Jefferson said, no, that's when I think the USS Constitution, Old Ironsides, was one of the ships they built to go down there and handle them. And they did. So that's why they went to the shores of Tripoli. Somali pirates. We have them in Mogadishu. We have them in Mogadishu, Minnesota. Thanks to the un-American cowards and poltroons that say, well, you know, that lady wrote a poem and stuck it on the bottom of the Statue of Liberty, so we have to let people that hate us come in. No, not really. So, so here's a young man who's actually going into the Marines. That's great. He'll have to learn it. It'll be on the final, but he doesn't know. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a birthright called citizenship. That's what this is about. My birthright, which is citizenship. It doesn't belong to the world. You might call yourself a citizen of the world. That's fine. And do it on the internet or go over there and do it there. But don't say that everybody on earth has a birthright of the Constitution, which is our birth certificate, our marriage license, our business contract, our living will and testament, last will and testament. That is a document. If you belong to an HOA, the board and all your neighbors can't just say, hey, you know what, we're gonna not only raise your rates, we're gonna take your house and we're gonna tell you that you can't do anything with it without paying us a bunch of money or whatever they want. I mean, wouldn't you get out the HOA, CC&Rs, covenants, codes, restrictions? That's what the Constitution was. That's what it is. It's restrictions. And so when they talk about, any subject, the War Powers Act or tariffs or whatever, it's supposed to be in reference to the Constitution, which was supposed to support a republic, not a democracy. Not a democracy. When you read the Federalist Papers and you read all the stuff that they tried to set up hedges and bulwarks against people going, well, I think it means this. I think it means my teacher
told me that it means this and it means that. And I feel.
Feelings, not facts. I feel that it means this. That doesn't matter. That was supposed to be codified so that wouldn't happen. And when we'll talk about the history of it, I'll tell you exactly how it happened. But the main point is, don't talk to me about the Constitution. If we're going to talk about tariffs or we're going to talk about elections, immigration, or migration is what it really is, Islam, it has to be through the prism of the Constitution. But if the Constitution has been so perverted and so FDR'd up that it's not even recognizable anymore, would you allow that for your birth certificate? Would you allow that for your contract that you bought your house with, your mortgage, your deed? Would you like the bank to just call you up and go, hey, you know what? It costs a lot more than you signed up for. So, and by the way, the interest rate's going to be higher, and it's really not yours. And would you like, these are covenants, and the good book of wisdom literature talks about husbands and wives being covenant breakers. Does that sound familiar? Do we tolerate it in any of these areas? Birth certificate, business contract. Your boss comes to you and goes, hey, you know what? I want you to come in 7 days a week, not 3. And well, wait a minute. The contract, I don't care what the contract says. I feel like it ought to say this now. I feel like it ought to say that. And the kind of judges that that are the basis of what is taught today about the Constitution is really filthy adultery. It's not pure. They changed it. They changed it around. And these guys now, like Benedict Roberts, Chief Justice, he's going, well, in 1938, Hoopty versus Doopty said this. That's not, we're not supposed to be going by precedent. And that's all law is built on. That's why it's not justice, it's law. And it's taught to be law, not justice. I'm an expert on the Constitution. Blah blah said he was an expert on the Constitution. And somebody asked him during the campaign, can we see some of the things you wrote? Oh, no. No, he actually paid money, George Soros did, or whatever, to hide anything he said about the Constitution. But then he went off this reservation, and because people just don't care. They were so in love, so infatuated with the color of his skin that they didn't care about the content of his character. So he basically said that he thought the Constitution was a negative document. Yeah, that's right, Einstein, it is. It tells what the government can't do. That was how they hung their whole hope on it. He says it doesn't say enough about what the government should do. And you see, these people are obsessed. These Marxists, these tyrants are obsessed with the Constitution being something that it's living document. And if we decide today, 51% of us decide that it means something else, whether we're qualified, disqualified, unqualified, it doesn't matter. That's what they had. That's what they had in mind. No, that's not what you had in mind when you did your marriage prenuptial or anything. That's not what you had in mind when you did your business contract or set up your corporation or you bought a house that has an HOA. You're gonna pull out the CCRs. You're gonna pull out that contract. You're gonna pull out and look at it and see if it really says that. It's not, and hopefully it's not going to get thrown to some court that says, well, I think it really means you can't own that house and you can't park your car near it. That's what I think it says, because Cooper versus Flooper in 1939, they said this. Well, you know what? The Dred Scott decision, the Fugitive Slave Act, Plessy versus Ferguson, Roe v. Wade, they all said a lot of things. It doesn't mean it was constitutional. So the system of checks and balances failed, but not because of the founders. Don't pull that. They failed because of our complete lack of respect for everything they did for us. And that's what these people are doing when they're pulling it out from under you. When you thought it was something to hang on to. It was an insurance policy. That's what your birthright is, citizenship. And you pick any subject you want, the way they relate to it. You're giving it away. If they make your money worth less, they're basically stealing it from you. If they give away your rights, as if anybody on earth can have them, no matter what they believe, no matter whether they pledge allegiance or not, or whether they hate this country, if they give that right to them, they're taking it from you. Anyway, I got to get out of here. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Anyway, go in peace and love and truth. No truth, no peace, no love, no justice, no nothing. It's not as simple as no justice, no peace. You'll know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Or you'll throw it away and make me live with those consequences. Anyway, till next time, take care.